When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
The new Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. Introducing the all-new Apple Watch Series 10, now available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generation, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true-color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard-of tactility, with digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Get your paper tablet at Remarkable.com today.
What a week. Just when you think you've got them beaten, the Chiefs make one more play and stay undefeated. 2 years ago, Jake Bates was a brick salesman. On Sunday night, he was saving Jared Goff's blushes as he makes field goals from 58 and 52 yards to overcome a 5-interception game and win a thriller for Detroit. The Steelers outlast the Commanders, the Cardinals demolish the Jets, and as a show, we continue to hold a winning record on the season. What lies ahead? Well, let's find out as we turn the page and look ahead to Week 11 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am your host, Richard Graves. And yes, indeed, we do still hold a winning record against the line on the season, but that advantage has just slipped by one game, having gone 1-2 with our picks through last weekend. The team to save our blushes, who else but the Dallas Cowboys? They were absolutely thumped at home by the Philadelphia Eagles. They're 0-4 on the season at home. They're now 3-6 and staring a top 5 draft pick potentially in the face. No Dak Prescott. He looks likely not to play again for the remainder of the season, and their campaign goes from bad to worse. For many other teams, though, the story could not be more different. The Baltimore Ravens, way back on Thursday Night Football, the first game of Week 10, were an absolute thriller in a shootout to continue their good form. Heartbreak for the Cincinnati Bengals, who more than played their role in that entertaining game. And then elsewhere, it was a weekend full of drama. The Kansas City Chiefs still undefeated. How? Well, maybe the football gods had something to do with that, but they are 9-0 as we head into Week 11. The Detroit Lions overcame 5 picks thrown by Jared Goff to come out on top regardless on the road at the Houston Texans. They continue their domination of the NFC North. And the Buffalo Bills, they're scoring points for fun right now. They are well clear at the top of the AFC East. We have 3 more games to look at to preview ahead of Week 11. And we're going to start with the Denver Broncos hosting the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons with a 6-4 record, top of the NFC South coming into this one. The Broncos are at 500, 5-5, and yet they will feel, they will believe they should be heading into this game like the Falcons with a 6-4 record. They will no doubt have spent an entire week building up to this game, still in their back of their minds, thinking about that one that got away. And make no mistake about it, they let it slip away in Kansas City for 59 minutes and maybe 50 seconds. They did everything right against the reigning Super Bowl champions. They went into Arrowhead Stadium, they stifled Mahomes, they frustrated the Chiefs, they made plays when they needed to, but they didn't get the job done. They somehow allowed the Chiefs to block a 35-yard field goal attempt by Will Lutz as time expired, the clock hit 0, and near delirium ensued as Kansas City remain unbeaten this season. That one is going to hurt, and it's going to hurt for a while. The question is, How does this Denver team get it out of their system? And how do they bounce back this week? That'll tell us a lot more exactly what kind of team Sean Payton is currently in charge of. It's difficult to see it in the immediate aftermath of a game like that, but there were so many positives to take from that game. Bo Nix, their rookie quarterback. I still think he's quite limited in what he does, but he did absolutely nothing to hurt this team, and he appears to actually be growing into a serviceable player at that position. Patrick Surtain, their star defensive back, leads a defense which just completely stifles the opposition. This defensive unit for the Broncos ranks in the top 10 in just about every defensive stat, bar takeaways, and they're sort of middle of the league when it comes to takeaways. They've only given up 17 points a game this season. In fact, since week 2, they've conceded 18 points or more just once. That was to the Baltimore Ravens. They scored 41 in a blowout win in Baltimore. Most importantly, though, they hung with the best team in the NFL last weekend on KC's own turf, and they looked completely unfazed by the challenge. That speaks volumes for what Sean Payton is now doing in Denver. This week's opponents, Atlanta, come into this game with a better record by a game. And offensively, I've got to say, they've got the players capable of hurting any opponent. But it's on the defensive side of the ball where you have concerns, or certainly at least I do. Last weekend in New Orleans, they gave up too many big plays. And as a unit, they're sitting in the bottom half of the league in just about every major defensive category. This is a team which has generally shown an ability to win high-scoring games this season, but this won't be a high-scoring game on Sunday. The Falcons average a lick under 24 points a game coming into this one. But in that rarefied atmosphere at Mile High Stadium, I think it would be a huge surprise if they reach that mark. Indeed, in 4 home games this season, the Broncos have only given up 54 points total. Look, we'll know a lot more about both these teams and where they're headed ultimately once this result is settled. But I can't see it being a shootout, whichever way it goes, and therefore I look at the Atlanta Falcons. The line set for them is 22.5 points as a team for this game. Take the under, the Falcons to score fewer than 22.5 points in this matchup.
Graves on Gridiron.
Next up, we look to Sunday Night Football, the clash in Texas. The Houston Texans with a 6-4 record heading into Big D, the home of the Cowboys. Dallas sitting at a lowly 3-6 record for the season, and it'll come as no surprise given what we've seen over the last month that the Texans, even though they're on the road, are favourites by more than a score, effectively. 7.5-point favourites going into this game. The Cowboys, as a team, are in apparent freefall. They have been gold dust for this podcast this season. We've taken them on a number of occasions against the line, and they rarely disappoint us. We didn't see much in the way of offense from the Cowboys in the loss to Philadelphia last Sunday. Offensive might be a better description for what the Cowboys put out on the field and forced their fans to watch, frankly, in that game. The fact that their matchup was just a one-score game going into their half said a lot more about the way Jalen Hurts and the Eagles played than it did about how the Cowboys approached the game offensively. They couldn't throw the ball downfield, they repeatedly gave it away, and they could do nothing to stop the Eagles once they finally focused on playing solid, mistake-free football. Now, the Texans head into Dallas looking to get back on track themselves after suffering that heartbreaking loss on Sunday Night Football last weekend. It was a game that they had won, folks. They led the Lions 23 points to 7 at halftime. They didn't score a single point in the second half of that game, and yet they finished it with 5 interceptions of Jared Goff. They had a field goal opportunity inside the 2-minute warning from 56 yards, which was missed by a mile by Kai Fairbairn. That would have given them the lead, and instead, they could only sit back and watch as Jake Bates, recently signed to the Lions roster, comes in. He converts a 58-yard field goal opportunity to tie the game, and then, as time expires, he squeezes the ball inside the upright by no more than a lick of paint, I kid you not, from 52 yards. The Lions win. The place goes berserk. The Lions' momentum continues. As a result, the Texans have a 6-4 record. but it's built on a defense which appears to be showing signs of strain right now. Not since week 3 have they held an opponent to fewer than 20 points. And when you've had to play much of the season without a number of key offensive players, that does take a toll on a team. Fortunately for the Texans, they expect, I think, to have star wide receiver Nico Collins back this weekend. He's got a good chance of playing in Dallas. If he does return, this is a tasty matchup for him. They're going up against a Cowboys defense, which, as you know, the Dallas, we've said as a team, they've lost all 4 home games this season. This defense has struggled across the board. Dallas, in those 4 home game losses, those losses come by an average of 23.5 points per game. I'm not just telling you that Dallas are shipping 23.5 points a game. Their losses are by an average of 23.5 points a game. The Texans defense, rightly for me, can look at this as an opportunity to put a few things right. Let's not forget, Dallas have only scored 15 points in their last 2 home games combined. They haven't reached double figures. In fact, they haven't scored a single touchdown across those last 2 home outings. They're going to have some sort of combination of Cooper Rush and Trey Lance playing at quarterback. What I saw last week against the Eagles, that is going to put the fear in no one. And if Houston can't take advantage of this situation, they need to be looking at themselves and asking some serious questions. Not only do I see Houston winning this one in Dallas, they win going away at the end. Take the Houston Texans all day long, folks. They'll win this, and they will cover at minus 7.5 points. Okay, first 2 games looked at in the books, previewed. We've got one more, and it is a big one. It is the game of the weekend. It is the Chiefs at Bills, and it's coming up next after these short messages.
Graves on Gridiron.
Welcome back to Graves on Gridiron. We've previewed 2 games heading into Week 11. We have undoubtedly saved the best for last. It's the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs going into Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Bills have an 8-2 record. They are 2.5-point favorites going into this game. But the Chiefs, well, they are perfect. They are unbeaten this season. They stand with a 9-0 record on top of the AFC West. And believe me, somewhere, anywhere in the world, there are members of that 72 Dolphins team, the only team ever to go through a season and remain undefeated, that are cheering the Bills on going into this game. They want to stand alone atop of that pile in history as the only undefeated team in NFL history. And the Chiefs are now putting that under serious threat. This is, without doubt, the matchup of Week 11. Still undefeated, still the reigning Super Bowl champions, still the standard in the NFL right now. The Kansas City Chiefs head into Buffalo for a game which, make no mistake, it could potentially determine who holds home field advantage by the time we get to the postseason. The Bills want to be that team, but they know it's no guarantee of success. Let's not forget, they were at home to the Chiefs in the playoffs last season, and they let that opportunity slip through their fingers. Why is it important? It's important because Josh Allen, in his NFL career, has still to beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. He knows what it's like to do it in the regular season. He's got a 3-1 record when playing against Mahomes in the regular season. The problem is, come playoff time, he's 0-3 when playing against Patrick Mahomes when it matters most. Right now, Buffalo are stampeding towards another AFC East title. They're 5 games ahead of their nearest rivals, the New York Jets. They have an 8-2 record. They're going into this matchup riding a 5-game winning streak. They've scored 30 or more points in each of their last 4 games. And if that's not enough, chances are they're going to be stronger this weekend for this game because wide receiver Amari Cooper recently signed on a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Well, he's missed the last couple through injury. Everything seems primed for his return in a game which I see as a yardstick marker for the Buffalo Bills. Why is that? Do we need to explain? The Kansas City Chiefs, simply put, they are winners, folks. They find a way, no matter the obstacle, no matter the size of the task. Last weekend, classic example, case in point. It wasn't pretty from the Chiefs. Their offense wasn't firing on all cylinders. And frankly, victory looked less than likely as Will Lutz is lining up a game-winning field goal attempt. Time's about to expire. He's 35 yards out. It's a relative chip shot if you're an NFL kicker. And yet, Leo Chenal, who you might ask? Leo Chenal, not one of the most instantly recognizable names on this Chiefs roster. He comes up big with a game-winning block. Remember, this is the same player who blocked a San Francisco 49ers extra point attempt in last year's Super Bowl. It's one of the moments of that game that goes unnoticed and rarely gets talked about. But if he doesn't block that field goal attempt, chances are that that game doesn't even go to overtime. Chances are that Mahomes and the Chiefs don't win it. But Leo Chenal came up big, and fundamentally, this is the strength of this Kansas City Chiefs roster. Everyone plays a role. Mahomes, Kelsey, Jones, Pacheco, these are all names everybody knows, but this is a championship-winning team. That's the word, team. And that is what the Bills have to overcome this weekend. They'll certainly have the support, as we said, of a raucous crowd in Buffalo. The members of the 72 Dolphins will lend their support as well. But that's because they fear Mahomes. When he says this Chiefs team wants to create history, that includes going through the season undefeated and sharing that platform, standing on that pedestal with that team from the 70s. And this is the bottom line. Kansas City have now earned the right not to be doubted. And until someone else proves that they can beat them and actually do it, I won't be doubting them either. Big game players make big time plays in big time games. Make no mistake, folks, this is a big time game. There's more than just one game on the line here. There's implications for the postseason. I'm looking at it. The odds makers might doubt the Chiefs. They might have the Chiefs as 2.5-point underdogs. I'm not doubting them. Too many have made that mistake before. I know what Josh Allen's regular season record is against Mahomes. I don't care. We're taking the Kansas City Chiefs to cover at plus 2.5. Okay, let's recap the 3 games we previewed heading into Week 11. We start with the Falcons going into the rarefied air of Mile High at Denver. The line set for them as a team is 22.5 points. This Denver defense is just too good. Take the under. Atlanta to score fewer than 22.5 points in that game. Then it's Sunday Night Football. The Texans going up to Big D to take the Cowboys. Make no mistake, the Cowboys are awful right now. The Texans are big favourites, and they warrant it. They win this game, and they cover the minus 7.5-point spread. Before we finish with the game of the week, it's the Chiefs and Bills in Buffalo. Who knows? Come the postseason, this might even be an AFC Championship preview. No offense intended to those Baltimore Ravens fans. The Chiefs go to Buffalo as 2.5-point underdogs. Do not doubt Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City. Take the Chiefs to cover at plus 2.5. As I always say at this stage, folks, it's about having fun. The entertainment, as we saw on Sunday night last week, is phenomenal. Keep that in mind when you're looking at these games and looking at my potential picks as well. If you want to read a little bit more about the 3 games we previewed this week, then go to my website, www.rdgmedia.uk. There you'll see the Talking Sport tab. Click on that and you'll have Week 11 Overcoming the Odds 3 games to watch. You can read all the details about the 3 games that we've spoken about on this week's podcast there. Equally, always love to hear from you on social media as well. On X, it's at Richard Graves 1. Instagram, it's RDG Media UK. And on Facebook, we are now Richard Graves RDG Media. And equally, if you want to see some of the interviews and personalities we've had on the podcast down the shows, then you can go to the YouTube channel at Richard Graves TV and relive some of the highlights there. I think that just about covers everything. And I am pumped. I cannot wait for this weekend's games, especially that big one between the Chiefs and the Bills as well. If they are half as good as the sample we got given last weekend, it will be an absolute barn burner. Looking ahead to it, folks. Looking forward to it as well, rather. And I hope you're going to enjoy it as well. But for now, this week, enjoy. So long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts.
And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1.
That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Did you know you can save money with the McDonald's app every single day? Yeah, I was surprised too. Deals every day right at your fingertips. I love a good deal, but the McDonald's app takes gaming the system to a whole new level. Just the other day, I treated myself to a 10-piece chicken nugget for only $1. Yeah, you heard that right. Just $1. All you have to do is order in the app. And get this, you can grab that deal once a week through December 2nd. The first time I discovered the deals in the app, I was honestly shook. I had to tell my whole group chat about it, and now we're always comparing who got the best app deal of the week. Plus, ordering ahead, total game changer, especially when I need a quick lunch or a treat after a long day. So why wait? Save money every day with the McDonald's app. Download it, get those deals, and treat yourself. You deserve it. Valid through December 2nd, 2024 at participating McDonald's. Offer valid one time per week. Excludes delivery. You must opt into rewards. So go check out McDonald's deals.